Saglit lang. So, medyo mahaba tayo ng slides yun, but I will try my best not to be overwhelming. Sana natin sa ayusin ko muna. Yan. Okay na ba? Nakikita niyo na yung aking slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sige. Yes, ano yun? Nakita niyo or mayroon pang magsasalita o magkakamit? Sige, I will just be stopping my video muna para okay. Yan. Okay, again, our topic is on bacterial and genetics. So, your bacterial genome or your prokaryotic genome is a closed circular double-stranded DNA. So, it has only one copy of each gene and has a single chromosome but has 3,000 genes or your haploid. And it does not form chromatin because this is maintained by your DNA kinase or your topoisomerase 2. So, terms that you need to know with regards to genetics is the study of inheritance and inheritable traits. Your genes are specific sequences of your nucleotides that codes for specific polypeptides, okay, or RNA molecules. And your replicons is a general term for double-stranded DNA that are capable of replicating. So this can be your chromosomes or your plasmids. And genome refers to the total genomic makeup or the sum of all the genes linked to your nucleotides in a cell. Okay, in your bacteria, you have what you call your extra chromosomal pieces of DNA that you will see in your prokaryotes or in your bacteria. So these are known as your plasmids. They are circular and double-stranded, and there can be up to 100 copies of the plasmid in a cell. Okay, so there is only one chromosome, but there can be more than one plasmid in a cell. It is self-replicating, and the advantage is that the bacteria's plasmid have genes for your antibiotic resistance. So it can also code for your virulence. Okay. In comparison with your chromosome, your plasmids both have circular DNA, but your chromosome are highly folded or they are supercoiling. So, balik ko lang dito ha. Hindi ko pala na-discuss kanina doon sa unang ano. So, this one shows you na ito yung inyong supercoiling of your bacterial DNA. And your plasmids, simple lang circular DNA niya. Okay? Both have capacity to self-replicate, but your chromosome only has a single copy per cell, while your your plasmids can have 1 to 20 copies per cell. And also, the genes, mas madami yung chromosome compared to your plasmids. Okay. Going back to your plasmids have different types. So, you can have your fertility plasmid. These are carry instructions for conjugation, which we will be discussing later on. Your resistance plasmids. So these plasmids carry genes for resistance to one or more antimicrobial drugs or heavy metals, okay? And you have your bacteriocin plasmids. So ito naman nagkikarry ng proteinaceous toxins or bacteriocins. And you have your virulence plasmids that carry instruction for structure, enzymes, or toxins that enable a bacterium to become pathogenic. This slide shows you a comparison between your prokaryote or versus your eukaryote. Okay, your prokaryote, example yan, yung mga cells natin, no? So, they are haploid. They do not have your histones, yung prokaryotes. They have nucleoid and plasmid. And the dsDNA is circular compared to your eukaryote, which has linear dsDNA. It has also the presence of plasmid as its extra chromosomal DNA. While you're in eukaryote, makikita natin ang inyong extra chromosomal DNA in your mitochondria. So in a single gene, there can be segments called your exon or your coding region and your introns, which are known as your non-coding region or your junk in the chromosome kasi yung introns wala silang masyadong function. In a eukaryotic gene, there can be more than one exon and an intron in between two exons. But in your bacterial gene, there is no introns present. So lahat yan coding region or exons. You also have your promoter or regulatory part that promotes the regulation of the genes. So, for your DNA gyres, okay. So, for your DNA gyres, this is also known as your type 2 topoisomerase. It relaxes the supercoiling enclosed circular DNA. So during replication, as the helicase pulls the double-stranded DNA away apart, sorry, there is a tendency for it to be entangled. So ang nagpa-prevent nun is your DNA gyrase. And also, this is a common target of your antibiotics or your quinolones. So the central dogma of molecular biology, so the DNA controls the activities of the cell by specifying the structure of proteins and enzymes. So any change in the DNA structure would lead to the change in activity of proteins. So your DNA will be transcribed to your RNA and your RNA will be translated to your protein. So this is the central dogma of your molecular biology. In DNA replication, so before a bacterium multiplies, replication has to occur. And anabolic polymerization allows a cell to make copies of its genome. It usually happens in a semi-conservative replication and produces double-stranded daughter molecules with a nucleotide sequence identical to that in the original double helix. So this ensures the integrity of an organism's genome is maintained. So the basic process in DNA replication, this begins at your origin of replication or your ORIC. So the DNA helicase unwinds the DNA molecules by breaking the hydrogen bonds between them, between the complementary nucleotide bases, and exposing it in the replication fork. The DNA polymerase then binds to each strands, since the two template strands are antiparallel, the cells will be synthesized in two ways. It will be in a leading strand, which is in your 5 to 3' direction, and your lagging strand, which is in 3 to 5' direction. So your lagging strand are usually synthesized with your Okazaki fragments. So the enzymes involved in your prokaryotic DNA replication involve the following. You have your DNA polymerase 3, which is your main replicative enzyme, your DNA polymerase 1, which has proofreading capability, your DNA polymerase 2, which functions for repair, and your helicase, which is responsible for unwinding at the DNA at the origin of replication, and your ligase, which seals the gap between your Okazaki fragments. Your primase is also important as it synthesizes your RNA primers. Again, your DNA replication is bidirectional. So there is unzipping and unwinding action of helicase that introduces superpulse into DNA ahead of your replication fork. So, after DNA replication, it will be transcribed into your RNA. So transcription occurs in the nucleoid region of the cytoplasm in your bacteria. So this occurs in three steps: your initiation, your elongation, and termination. So the transfer of genetic information begins with the transcription of the genetic code from DNA to RNA. And your RNA polymerase links your RNA nucleotides that are complementary to genetic sequences in the DNA. So this transcription begins at the promoter region of the DNA, which is then recognized by your RNA polymerase. Sorry. And ends with the terminator sequence. You also have your row protein that assists in the termination, and it may depend solely on the nucleotide sequence of the transcribed RNA. After the transcription to your RNA will be then translated into your proteins. So translation is the process where your ribosomes use the information of nucleotide sequences to synthesize polypeptides composed of specific amino acid sequences. Your translation always starts with your methionine or your codon AUG. So the start codon is your AUG. Mutation happens when there is a change in the base or nucleotide sequence of the DNA. Some mutations may be beneficial, especially for your bacteria, because mutation can provide antibiotic resistance for that particular bacteria. An example of which is your MRSA, which is your methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. So when there is a mutation at the penicillin-binding protein, this provides the resistance to your methicillin or to your penicillins. Your mutagens refer to physical or chemical changes that can increase the normal rate of mutation. So some of the physical agents that are known are your ultraviolet light or your non-ionizing radiation. This causes formation of your pyrimidine dimers. So when the ultraviolet light hits the DNA, it forms a covalent bond, forming your cyclobutane ring. On the other hand, you also have your ionizing radiation that includes your X-rays and gamma rays and other electrons that are highly reactive and form your free radicals, leading to your single-stranded breaks in your DNA. You also have chemical agents that are analogs of bases. So these are the compounds that are structurally similar to your normal nucleotides. So examples of which are your intercalating agents such as your actidine dye, your ethidium bromide, and your nitrous acid and 5-bromouracil. So changes occurring in the DNA during your mutation, it can be your addition, your deletion, or substitution. So in addition, it just means that there is a particular nucleic acid that was added in the codon, okay? For the deletion, meron lang din natanggal doon. On the other hand, you have substitution, you have two types. It can be transition, meaning the substitution is between the same type of bases. So, thymine is substituted with cytosine, so pyrimidine pa rin yung na-form niya. As, for this example, also your adenine to guanine. However, it is called transversion if there is substitution between different types of bases. So that happens if your pyrimidine is substituted and becomes a purine. So for your thymine, magiging adenine siya and your guanine, ganyan. So in a normal gene expression, so this is the template DNA strand. So, and then you have your normal mRNA that was formed. So this is the complementary strand of your normal DNA strand that was translated into your RNA. And your RNA the specific codons or yung tatlo, yung three nucleic acids are known as your codons, encode for particular amino acid sequences. So, for example, UU na codon, um, sorry, it encodes for your phenylalanine. Okay. You have what you call your base substitution mutation. This occurs when a single nucleotide replaces another DNA in the sequence. But the substitution mutation can be divided into your missense mutations, your nonsense mutations, and your silent mutation. So what are the differences between these types of mutation? Sorry. For your missense mutation, base substitution causes the replacement of one amino acid by another different amino acid in the DNA sequence. So, if you have your missense mutation, instead of encoding TCC, as you can see here, naging TGC siya. So, instead of encoding for your, dapat ang base na substitute niya ay ito AGG na arginine because there is one amino acid one base that was substituted, you were able to encode another different amino acid. Supposed to be arginine, threonine ang na-encode. So that is a missense mutation because a wrong amino acid is translated due to the change in the base pair. So the missense mutation can be harmful, neutral, or even beneficial in rare cases. On the other hand, you also have your nonsense mutation. So the nonsense mutation means the base substitution change in an amino acid codon encodes for a stop codon. So we have three stop codons. You have your UAG, your UGA, and your UAA, or sometimes I term it as uwag, uga, uaa. Okay? So, para mas madali lang siya matandaan. These are your subcodons. So, nearly all nonsense mutation result in non-functional proteins because nakakalt siya agad. Bigla kasing nasa stop yung pag-translate. So, nagiging non-functional yung proteins. So, nagiging ano lang siya, walang nagiging parang function yung proteins na na-encode because eventually nasa stop siya. So, teka lang, tignan natin dito sa kanina, no? So, ayan, yung nonsense, ito, ang na-form niya ay yung UAG, kaya eventually na-stop yung translation ng proteins. Next is you have your silent mutation. So, the base mutation did not produce any change in the sequence of amino acid. So, napalitan yung base, napalitan yung yung nucleic acid base, pero same yung amino acid na incorporate kasi hindi there are combinations of codons that encode for the same amino acid. So for this type of mutation, there was a change in the base pair, but eventually it encoded for the same amino acid. So that is what you call your silent mutation. So for your frame shift mutation, so nucleotide are inserted into or removed from the DNA sequence. So the ribosome translate mRNA into protein by reading the mRNA in 3 nucleotide codons. So kapag ka natanggal or nawala ang isa or dalawang nucleotide, eventually it will affect all the other codons, no? Kasi magpapalit na lahat yon kasi every 3 nga niya binabasa. So this results in drastic and nonsense mutation, except when the insertion or deletion happens very close to the end of the gene. So except if patapos na yung pag-translate niya, doon nagkaroon ng insertion. So this means that there is addition, one or few nucleotide pairs in the sequence. So example here, nagkaroon ng insertion ng thymine, no? So, instead of AAA and then ATA, ito, ma-encode na siya as TAT and then ACG. So, as you can see, the rest of the codons will change. So, this is what you call your frame shift insertion. So for your DNA repair mechanism, so you have your photoreactivation or your light repair mechanism. So this requires the presence of light as a source of energy. An example of which are your thymine dimers. So this can be repaired by your photoreactivation. Sorry. For your dark repair mechanism, so this does not require light, but your dark repair enzymes cut the damaged section of the DNA molecule. So, meron siyang sariling mga enzymes that cut at specific areas where there is mutation. So, this is your dark repair mechanism. You also have your excision repair mechanism, wherein the excision of a DNA segment containing the damage, often along with the nucleotides and on other side of the mutation, are deleted. So your DNA polymerase fills in the gaps that are deleted. So parang ano niya, i-connect niya ulit. Sorry. I-connect niya ulit. No? This does not require light. You also have your mismatch repair mechanism. This scans the newly synthesized DNA. So the importance of studying your mutation is that it confers, because your mutation confers resistance and surviving capabilities to the environment of the bacteria for survival. So yun nga, sinabi nga natin kanina, yung MRSA, kapag nag-mutate yung penicillin binding proteins, nagkakaroon siya ng resistance sa penicillins. However, for this type of bacteria or for this type of resistance, pag mutation lang siya, isang antibiotic lang siya nagkakaroon ng resistance. Iba naman kapag multi-drug resistant na siya or multiple drug antibiotic resistance na siya. These resistance are due to gene transfer. So pag isang antibiotic lang, this is possibly due to a mutation. But if there are more than one antibiotics, the resistance is due to a gene transfer. So gene transfer mechanisms, this is the ability of the bacteria to transfer some genes to other bacteria. So, with this type of mechanism, makakaroon sila ng multi-drug resistance. So, there can be vertical gene transfer or horizontal gene transfer. So, for bacteria, we will be discussing three mechanisms of your gene transfer, which are your transformation, your conjugation, and your transduction. So, for your transformation, so this transfer, your transformation transfers genetic material of naked or free DNA. So there is the presence of your recipient cell that takes up DNA from an environment such as that DNA is released by a dead organism. And there is a recipient competent bacteria capable of taking up the free DNA from their environment. So for your transformation, you have natural transformation and induced transformation. For your natural transformation, this produces competent proteins in response to your competent pheromones. So meron din ganun yung mga bacteria. And the small molecule secreted by cells reaches the critical density and binds to cell receptor and then turns on the genes. So it transfers the genes naturally, unlike your induced, wherein there is parang meron na ditong modification. So the scientist or lab technician can generate competence artificially in, for example, your E. coli and other bacteria by changing the temperature and salt content of the medium. So this one is a type of induced transformation. So mechanism of transformation, this involves the uptake of a naked or free DNA released in the environment by a competent cell. If the bacteria dies and undergoes lysis. So When the DNA fragment enters the competent cell, it undergoes recombination, and if there are similarities in the base sequence between the donor and the recipient. So, transformation is used by bacteria to acquire virulence and acquire also your antibiotic resistance. Okay. So, next slide will be showing you an example. So, here you have transformation with DNA fragments. So you have your free DNA fragments from a dead bacteria, and you have a bacterial chromosome from a competent cell. So in the competent cell will uptake the free DNA fragments. So papasok siya sa loob ng bacteria. And there will be possible integration of the free DNA fragments into your bacterial chromosome. So there could be integration forming your stable transformation, or if there is no integration, even if na-uptake siya, madidegrade lang yung nakuha niya na free DNA. Also, in plasmids, that can happen. So, a free plasmid from a dead bacteria or a weak bacteria can be uptake by your bacterial chromosome of your competent cell. And then, therefore, nagko-combine din silang dalawa. So, yung genetic makeup ng plasmid na-transfer na dito sa competent bacteria. Sorry. Next is your conjugation. So, this is a transfer that requires cell-to-cell contact. So, ito naman, dapat magkadikit yung cell. So, this occurs between two living cells. So, kanina may dead cell or weak cell sa competent cell. Ito, two living cells. This requires mobilization of the donor and the bacterium's plasmid or chromosome. Cause of the transfer of the chromosome of the plasmid. You have cell-to-cell contact, which is brought about by your sex pili or pilus and your conjugation pilus in your gram-negative organisms, and pheromones in your gram-positive, because your gram-positive has no conjugation or sex pili. So, ito yung example mo. You have your plasmid here. You have a cell. And then there is cell-to-cell connection because of your conjugation pilus. Okay, so your plasmid from here, eventually, once they are conjugated, can transfer to the other cell. So the plasmid materials can transfer to the other competent cell. So ayan, nagkaroon na rin siya na pareho na sila may plasmid. So there can be three states of F factor or F plasmid, or your fertility factor or fertility plasmid. You have your F positive, you have autonomous plasmid independent of the cytosol, as you can see there. And it can be become a part of the chromosome. You also have your HFR, wherein the integral part of the chromosome is, sorry. So here, ito, integral part, naging part siya ng mismong full chromosome, wherein your F naman, a part of this chromosome becomes a part of your plasmid. So, pwede yun, three ways siya na pwede mangyari, yung fertility chromosome. So, for your HFR conjugation naman, here you have your plasmid and your chromosome, and combined na siya together. And then this combination will conjugate with another bacteria. And then eventually, once conjugated, the F-positive bacteria, F-positive cell, will transfer through conjugation its genetic makeup to the other cell. And then, once na-transfer na niya, it will then incorporate itself to its bacterial genetic makeup. So, ayan na siya. It becomes a recombinant cell. So, you also have your reproductive plasmid. So, this has two parts. You have your two parts. You are determinant and you have your resistance transfer factor, which contains your tragins. These are usually found in your gram-negative bacteria. So ito kasi yung madalas ng resistance ng mga bacteria. Mabilis sila mag-form ng resistance. So, next, ito din yung kanina natin yung F or yung fertility plasmid. So, yan na rin yung diniscuss natin kanina. So, the next gene transfer is your transduction, wherein there is transfer of DNA from one cell to another, and this is mediated by a virus infection or your bacteriophage. So, this is limited only by the availability of a virus that is capable of infecting both donor and recipient cell. So, here, you have your phage assembly, your here you have your virus, no, and it tries to invade your bacteria. So the genetic makeup of the virus goes inside the bacteria, and with the degradation of the DNA of the host, it will be combined. So nagko-combine siya yung genetic makeup ng virus and your bacteria. Sorry. And inside the bacteria, mafi-form yung viral particles with both your bacterial genetic makeup and your viral genetic makeup, and eventually releasing your phages or your bacteriophage. So this particular phage will then incorporate the DNA that it has to another type of bacteria. So yun yung transduction na tinatawag. So doon niya ilalabas ulit yung nakita niya na DNA doon sa donor bacteria na may genetic makeup, and then i-combine together dito sa kanyang recipient. Okay. So in summary, you have your transformation, your conjugation, and transduction. So for your transformation, again, you have your naked free DNA in the environment from a weak or dead cell. And then, na-acquire siya ng recipient competent cell. For your conjugation, there is a cell-to-cell contact that is needed. So, and the genetic makeup can be incorporated into the chromosome of the donor cell. While on your transduction, there is a need for your bacteriophage, a virus containing the genetic makeup of your bacteria, which will be incorporated to another bacteria. Okay? Okay, sorry kung medyo heavy yun, but now we have to go to your laboratory diagnostics, konti na lang. So, you just have to define your antibodies. So, your antibodies are proteins produced by your lymphocytes in response to the presence of your antigen. So, particular antibodies, no? So, ganito yung itsura ng antibody, parang Y-shape, and there is specific variable area here that will encode for specific epitopes of your antigen. So, these proteins are produced in response to presence of an antigen. So, you have what we call your antigen-antibody reaction. You have your pro-zone reaction and your post-zone reaction. So, in optimal proportion or your zone of equivalence, there is equal number of your antigen and antibody in the reaction. So, there is what we call your zone of equivalence. However, if there is presence of excess antibody, excess antibody, such as in this, so, mas madami yung antibody, konti lang yung antigen. So, hindi ka masyado makakakita ng antigen-antibody reaction or forming of clump formation, no? Because there is excess antibody, konti lang yung antigen mo. So, hindi siya magiging visible like this one. So, there is a false negative result. Also, if there is excessive antigen and very few antibody, yung reaction, hindi rin siya magiging positive. So, it also leads to a false negative result. So, ganito rin kasi yan. So, in your zone of equivalence, yan yung naperform natin, antigen-antibody reaction. While in excessive antibody or your prozone, even if there is antigen-antibody reaction, hindi natin siya manenote because of the excessive antibody. So, it's a false negative result. Here also, ganyan din, no? There is excessive antigen and konti lang yung antibody. So, therefore, a false negative result can also be read if there is excessive antigen in the reaction. So, here, same lang din, pinapakita lang din na sa zone of equivalence, makakakita ka ng distinct zone of equivalence, kaya kita mo yung antigen-antibody reaction through clumping. Here, in excessive antibody and excessive antigen, hindi mo siya ma-witness. So, there is, again, false negative result. So, because your antigen-antibody is a basic principle for the test used in your laboratory diagnosis, for your agglutination test, you have antigen-antibody binding principle, and the positive result is the formation of your clamps. No? If there is zone of equivalence or a balance in your antibody, which is usually in a latex particle or any particle na doon siya naka-incorporate, plus your analyte which has the antigen, it will form clumping because of the presence of the antigen-antibody reaction. But again, we have to consider the pro and post-zone reaction. For your precipitation test, it is almost the same as your agglutination test, but your precipitation has a more soluble molecule. So therefore, hindi siya magka-clumping, pero makikita mo yung presence ng precipitates. Okay, so yun lang yung difference niya, but the principle is still the same. An antigen-antibody reaction. For neutralization test naman, for this test, you have toxin molecules and you have cells. So the usual reaction is that once there is a presence of toxin with the in relation to your cell, there will be cell damage. But in your neutralization test, if there is a presence of toxin, you will be using antibodies to that particular toxin or your antitoxin. And once you put it in your cell, your antitoxin and toxin molecules can now neutralize your toxin. So, hindi na siya magpo-form ng damaging of the cell. Therefore, a positive neutralization test is undamaged cell. For your complement fixation test, so the principle again is an antigen-antibody complex that fixes the complement. So, therefore, the positive result is no hemolysis. So, if the result is no hemolysis, so meaning there is a presence of serum with your antibodies, and then you will put your specific antigen needed to bind the antibodies for a specific disease, kunwari a specific disease. Once you add your complement, since there is an antigen-antibody complex, so your complements are used if there is antigen-antibody complex. So, when you add your sensitized cells, because there is no presence of complement in the solution, dahil nga na-fix na siya ng antigen-antibody complex. When you add your red cells that has been sensitized, it will not be lysed or hindi siya masisira because the complement was already fixed by the antigen-antibody reaction. So therefore, So therefore, the positive reaction for your complement fixation test is your no hemolysis because the complement was already fixed by the antigen-antibody reaction. For your immunofluorescence test, this again is an antigen-antibody reaction wherein you have a specific it is a immunofluorescence. So Tama. There is a specific fluorescein dye that is in the antibody. So may indicator ka doon, and then you will be detecting the viral antigen if it's direct immunofluorescence. And once you look at it in your immunofluorescence microscope, if there is a reaction, magla-light up siya. So you will be observing yellow to green color under your immunofluorescence microscope. For your enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, ito naman, the specific antibodies are labeled with your enzyme. So meron siyang particular enzyme na ginagamit. So once there is the presence of your antigen, you will be putting your enzyme-labeled antibody, and once you add the substrate, it will produce a color signal. So kapag may antigen, pero kapag walang antigen, at walang antigen-antibody reaction, even if you put the substrate, hindi siya magpo-form ng color. Okay, so here naman, it's indirect ELISA, you're detecting a primary antibody. And you have another enzyme-labeled antibody against the primary antibody. And once it is, it has action to the primary antibody, when you put the chromogen or your substrate, it will emit again a color. So that is a positive result for your indirect ELISA. So remember, if you are detecting an antibody, it's indirect. If you're detecting the antigen, that's direct, whether it's ELISA or immunofluorescence. So lastly, you have your hybridization proofs. You have your northern blot that provide quantitative information about RNA synthesis because it has DNA to RNA probe. Your southern blot, this has DNA to DNA probe, and this can detect overlapping restriction fragments. And you have your western blot, wherein you have antibodies that are used to detect your clone genes by binding to their protein products. So, protein naman ang dinadetect dito sa western blot. Okay. Andyan pa ba kayo? Sorry.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah.
Yun. Yun lang. Ang haba, no? Do you have any questions?
Doc, is it possible that
Yeah.
we get po yung updated PowerPoint po for this?
Okay. Kasi yung nakalagay, yun yung wala yata ang laboratory diagnostics, no? Tama pa?
Yes, Doc.
Oo, yun yata. Sige, sige. I will send it to the Telegram na lang. It's either I will send it to the Telegram or i-add ko na lang pala sa sa Moodle. Sige, later tonight, i-ano ko siya, i-post ko siya. Because yun nga, dinagdag ko, tama, dinagdag ko pala yun. Yung mga laboratory diagnostics.
Okay, Doc. Thank you.
Again, if you're detecting, if the test is direct, like direct immunofluorescence, direct ELISA, that means that you are detecting the antigen. If you're using indirect immunofluorescence or indirect ELISA, that means that ang dinedetect mo is the primary antibody. And the only difference is the marker or the label. Kasi sa immunofluorescence, you're using a fluorescent labeled antibody. While in your ELISA naman, you're using an enzyme labeled antibody. So yun lang. Okay, so wala na ba kayong questions? If you can still read on the chapter sa ating book, on your microbial genetics if you like, but I think it has a lot of pages. So, kung meron kayong time at kung gusto nyong baka meron pa kayong makita doon na additional information, it's okay. But generally, yun yung ano natin, yung important na points that you have to know in your microbial genetics. Tulog na yata kayo, no? Sige, may question ako. So, based on our lecture, I want to know if you remembered what is the start codon. Kasi important yun. Yan, AUG. And it encodes for your methionine. How about your stop codons? Sige, tingnan ko nga, may nag-chat. Hindi, start lang pala yun. So, several daw. Ayan. So, ang ating stop codons are UAA, UAG, tsaka UGA. Diba sa ko wag, uga, uaa. So, pag nakita yun, pag yun yung na-encode, ibig sabihin, matitigil na yung translation. So, and then, di ba, yun nga, if a stop codon is encoded, anong tawag doon sa mutation? Is it a missense mutation? Is it a nonsense mutation? Is it a silent mutation? Oh, may nag-answer na sa inyong chat, nonsense mutation. So, yun, correct. So, those are also the important things lang kasi masyado madami tayong discuss na technical terms and concepts. But those are actually the important answers. Okay. So, if you do not have any questions, I'm glad na you listened kasi you were able to answer some of the questions na important. So, if no more questions, I will just post the updated slides sa Moodle. And then, I will see you on my next topics. No? I think sa next term pa yun. So, midterms na yata. Okay?
Thank you po.
Bye-bye.